Okay, welcome back to our second lesson for drawing the detailed drawing of the adjustable holder. We left off from last lesson where we had selected some dimensions from the annotation tab, and we just pulled them outside the drawings and had tidied up a couple of these leader lines. I'm going to tidy up a few more of the leader lines, experiment with some different dimensioning techniques, and finish off the dimensioning. Then we're going to publish the drawing and eventually add it to a PowerPoint slide. Alright, so a couple of things that's taking my attention here is this 3mm dimension here between these two surfaces is not what I would particularly like. So I'm just going to experiment with maybe different positions. I could bring it to this position here. Now, generally speaking, we don't have a dimension inside a drawing, generally outside. But in this case here, because it's such a sort of strange position, we would probably justify leaving this dimension in here. You will notice that on your real drawing that 3mm actually isn't labelled. So in actual fact, we don't really need it because this 3mm of radius here will tell us that same information. So in knowing that, let's just right click onto it, select the dimension, right click, and hit delete. Simple as that. Okay, before we go adding more dimensions, I'd like to turn your attention to this radius 3 dimension down here. That radius 3, you can see that the R3 is on a slant, whereas all the other dimensions are either vertical or horizontally aligned. So let's change this so that the R3 is also horizontally aligned to keep it all uniform and to Australian standards. So when you put a radius in, it will default to this type of dimension. What you need to do then to make it so it's horizontally aligned is to select it, then right click onto it and go to its properties. Once in the properties tab, ignore everything in properties, come across to display, and then where it says text orientation, instead of choosing default, which is what it is there at the moment, choose above extended elbow. Click OK, and you'll see that we've now our dimension or our numerals are now horizontal. Problem is though, they're probably on the wrong side of the arrow. So to flip them to the other side, select the numerals, right click, hold your mouse down for a second, and flip text, and it flips it to the other side. Now grabbing that dimension, and you can see that it locks to the center of that 3 there, and we've got that nice here line. I'm actually going to line up that dimension line and that one together to make it look nice and neat and tidy. Alright, so let's see what dimensions we yet have to put in to complete this front view. Let's go have a look at our drawing. So looking at the far left here, we've got a height of 50 from there to there, a total length of 126, and I think we've got these 10s in, those 10s. So as far as the front view goes, there's not much else besides these overalls. So 35 was already in for that top one. 126, 56, and 50. Let's do those and then we'll take it from there. Okay, sorry about that. Right, 56 is there. So let's do this overall dimension from one end to the other. So we had selected these dimensions using that annotations capability, but now we're going to manually insert some dimensions. So to do that, we need to be in the Annotate tab, so click on Annotate, and come down to the icon beside Show Model Annotation called Dimension. Create Dimensions. Simply then, select one line that you wish to dimension between. Click on this one, then hold down the Control key, click on the other one, and then drag the dimension down so that it's clear of these other ones here. Put my cursor about halfway along the line so that the dimension numbers are in the middle of my drawing, and left click once again. Oh, no, I must have center mouse click, sorry. So I'll just go through that again. Click one line, hold the Control key down, click the other line, then move the cursor out where you want it to go to, and then push your center mouse button to finish off the position of the dimension. Now you'll notice I've followed a rule here in that the longer dimensions must always be outside or further away from the outline than smaller dimensions. I'll show you what I mean. Let's get out of dimension insert. Look what happens if I do this. See, when we've got leader lines and dimension lines crossing over, it gets very confusing. So the rule is that smaller dimensions must always be closer to the outline of the drawing than larger dimensions. Righto, so let's check. 50, 10, that 10's there. I'll leave that 10 there, the 35, the 126. Let's go back and have one more look. 50, 10, 10, 10, 35, radius, 126, 56. Yep, there's really nothing else I need to have probably on that front view. There's that 13 on the end there. Oh, there's one. 40 millimeters there. I need to have that height there. I could dimension it on this end, or probably better to do it with that end. Let's see what that looks like. So let's go back. So I'm going to do the distance from this line to that line. So go to dimension, select one line, hold down the control key, select the other line, move your cursor away. I'm going to line these dimensions up with each other so they look nice and neat, and set a mouse button to finish. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that front view as we go. So get out of dimension by clicking on cancel, and then let's save it before we go any further. Okay, so the front view I think is complete. Let's now turn our attention to the top view. Now there's a bit of a gap here between the top view and the outline. So what I might do is I'm going to go back to the layout tab so I can control the view, drag it a little bit further away, same with this one here, just so I've got a bit more space in between the views. And you can see I'm probably getting a bit close between the dimensions and the title block there. So I'm just going to move that up a little bit. I think that looks better proportion, better centered on the page too. Okay, remember later on we're going to have a 3D view up here, so we'll just leave that space vacant at the moment. Okay, so now we're going to turn our attention to dimensioning this top view, and to do that we could do that same technique where we select the view, then go to annotate, show model annotations. I've already done the center lines, so here it's probably not a bad idea to start off by selecting some of the dimensions that we used, which we know we can use for the drawing. So this 26 diameter I'm going to use, this 60 width. Now that's 70 I'm not too sure about, not too sure whether I need that one or not. I don't need the 56, I don't need the 30, I could probably use that 12. And if I just zoom in on here, there's a number of 30s there for some reason. I'm just going to leave that. That'll probably do me for starters. Click apply and then cancel. And you can see straight away that we've got some issues. We need to clean up some of these dimensions. So I'm just going to click onto that dimension. I'm going to drag it out at least 10 millimeters away from the object, and then grab the end of the leader line. Make sure you leave that gap between it and the feature that you're trying to dimension to. So that's the overall width. Same thing here with this 12, moving it out, dragging these ends so that's not confusing. Okay, now this 26 at the moment's inside our drawing. If we grab that and we were to drag it outside the drawing, it might look okay, provided that this doesn't then start to foul any other dimensions that we're going to put into there. Alright, let's go back to our drawing and see what else we need in there. 60, we did need that 70. Well, we can do that manually. We need 30 millimeters in from that back edge. And 35 here was already shown to us on our front view, so we don't need to do that 35. We've got the diameter, so 30 setback and 70 there. So let's do that one. So I'm going to go dimension, insert, from that edge, hold down, control, select the middle, and this time I'm going to bring that out. I could possibly go, I'm going to go to my left here, and I'm going to bring that to there. But then I'm going to have to move this 60 mil out another 10 or so millimeters and bring that in there to observe our rule about smaller dimensions on the inside of larger ones. You can see the leader lines pointing to the axis, which is fine, and here we've got our gap, which is good. I think the other one was 70 between those two surfaces, so let's do that one. So between that one, hold down control, click that one, make it in the center, send a mouse button to finish, That's good. And here's our little problem here. You can see that that 70 is starting to foul the 26. So I'm going to zoom out. One way to fix that, I suppose, is get out of dimension insert and get into dimension select. I'm just going to pull it down here and see what that looks like in a second. It's good to leave the dimension of a circle or of a hole at an angle. You should never leave these in line, because then it gets confusing as to is that a center line or is it a dimension line. So always at a bit of an angle. Hopefully 45 is a good way to do. Righto, 60, 30, 70. Let's have a look. We've got those ones. We've already done the 35. We need 28 to these holes at the back here, which I haven't got at the moment, so you can do those yourself. And these holes here as well, radius of 5. Well, I'm going to have to put those holes in and then come back and finish that off. Okay, see if we can get that far, and we've got one more lesson to go.